Betsy was fond of this bay. It was strewn thickly with water lilies. Their flat green pads and creamy, richly scented blossoms floated on the water all around her. The shore was lined with trees, willows, cottonwoods, box elders. In other parts of the lake, rows of summer cottages or low-lying farms came to the water's edge. This cove was remote. Moored here, you might have thought that you were in a wilderness, except for the fact that a green wooded point, jutting into the lake to the east, showed the rooftop of the inn. Hello, friends. Welcome back to my channel, Rainy Day Reads. I'm Rainy, and today we will be discussing another installment in the Betsy Tacy 2019 Read Along. And today's installment will be Betsy Was a Junior by Maudhart Lovelace. I brought a little friend today who's staring at me awkwardly from the corner, and that is Samantha Parkington. And that is my American Girls doll from when I was a little girl. And I recently found her in my closet and decided I was going to feature her in my Betsy Tacy videos because she is from the early 1900s America. And I believe like around 1904, 1907 kind of time frame, which I believe is the same time as Betsy Was a Junior. I think it said like 1909, so a couple years difference. Betsy Was a Junior is kind of a boring title, but I think that this book was anything but boring. It was a little bit of a mishmash of things, and it's a little bit polarizing. I have heard different people say, talk about the problems in this book and how Betsy was still really boy crazy and how people are getting tired of this. And there was a scene that depicts the settlement of Deep Valley and how it was formed, and there are references to the Native Americans and just derogatory things about the Native Americans. So yes, I can understand that there are those problems in this book. But overall, I still really maintain that this is just a very nice, comforting series that I am really enjoying reading. And as far as the problems are concerned, I just feel it needs to be looked at as a product of its time. And I say this about a lot of classic books. It's a product of its time. And I think that by reading those things, and even especially reading them to our children, I think that it is a good teaching tool. It is good to learn from history so that history does not repeat itself. So there's my little soapbox moment to start off the video. But in Betsy Was a Junior, we see Betsy at the very beginning of the book making her kind of new school year resolutions. And in this book, she resolves to be a better student. She resolves to take the place of her sister Julia, who is going off to college, and she wants to learn to play the piano like her sister and to be a good big sister to their younger sister Margaret. And Betsy she's been boy crazy. She's concerned with the crowd. She's concerned with her social life, and she just has not really been, there for Margaret. So she wants to kind of take Julia's place. Also, she resolves that she is going to win the heart of Joe Willard this year. And she is very confident that that is going to happen. And as you can probably imagine, none of this really goes according to Betsy's plan. As far as the other things that she could control, Betsy does not do a very good job of controlling these things. And part of that is that she gets sucked into the idea of a sorority. And she decides with Tacy and Tib, who is back from Milwaukee, yay, that she is going to form a sorority. And even though they're in high school, I guess that was kind of a thing back then, that some girls did. So um, I really love Tib, and I'm so glad she's back because I feel like Tib and I are kindred spirits. We're very practical people, and we feel a lot of times like the things that Betsy wants to do are silly, and but we still like Betsy, and we don't want to hurt her feelings, so we go along with it anyway. So I'm going to read you the scene that really made me laugh and made me applaud Tib. Betsy sat down in front of them, looking earnestly into their faces. We're good ones to start a sorority. You know what that word means, sisterhood. And we've been friends so long, a thing like this would really hold us together always. We'd hold together anyway, I'd imagine, said Tib. We've held together all the time I was in Milwaukee. But Tib, if we made vows of friendship, we don't really need any. Well, it certainly couldn't hurt to make them, replied Tacy. That was just a tiny little snippet, but I just think that it was so cute that, Tib's like, we don't need to form a sorority. We're basically already a sorority. We have the crowd. We do things with the crowd anyway. That was what I felt the entire way through this book. Like, why do you need a sorority? You already have the crowd. You already have a group of friends that is basically, you hang out with the girls and the guys, and then the guys ended up forming a fraternity just to kind of keep up with the sorority, and then they ended up all together anyway. So I just that whole thing with the sorority didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But then I'm also somebody that doesn't really understand the whole idea of sororities to begin with, and I liked that Tib was always just throughout the book like, why do we need this? We don't really, this is just making people not like us. Like, there's a character named Hazel that pops in here and there, and Betsy really wants to be her friend, but she kind of feels like she can't because she's not part of the sorority. And I'm just like, that's so dumb. Just be her friend. I don't understand it. So that part was frustrating, but I mean, it was a big part of the plot of the book, and it was really interesting to see how the sorority ended up affecting Betsy's and all of the crowd's lives. Like, even to the extreme that Tony Markham, who is a character who kind of has really endeared himself to the Ray family. He kind of becomes an outcast at one point because he doesn't want to join the fraternity, and it really makes him spiral downward, like almost to an extreme. And I obviously you don't like to see that, but it was interesting that Lovelace put that in there, and I just really felt like it was really a good hard look at what excluding people can do to them. Another one of the boys that I didn't care for in this was Dave Hunt. He was actually Betsy's boyfriend throughout this entire book, and he was just weird. He never even talked really, but Betsy wanted him to be her boyfriend because he was just somehow, she just made him out to be like so popular or something like that. But he never talked, he never said anything, he never even asked her out. He would just like assume that she was going to go out with him, and Betsy was okay with this. And that part irritated me because it's one thing to be boy crazy, it's another thing to get yourself into these bad relationships. I mean, she was in a bad relationship with Phil in the last book, and now she's in a bad relationship with Dave. That's my little soapbox about the boys in Betsy's life at this point. I'm having a lot of soapbox moments in this video. But yeah, as far as the overall plot of this book, I thought it was really interesting, and it was still really cute. Mr. Ray, he does have outdated views. He does talk about how he wishes Julia would just find a man and settle down instead of doing all this opera business that she wants to do. But, this will be a spoiler, but in the end, he does change his mind a little bit on that. And I think that was a really progressive thing for him to have done. And yeah, there are things, attitudes in this book are not progressive, but I think that, Maud does sprinkle them in a little bit. And, they're problematic, but then you can see the growth. And you can still, even if Mr. Ray doesn't really believe that Julia should be going off and doing these things and not getting married, he loves her enough to, make her happy and want her to do the things that she wants to do, even if it goes against what he would wish for her. In the end, things do wrap up a little bit. There's starting to be some good things happening. We do get a little bit more insight into Joe Willard. So, because of course the next installment is Betsy and Joe. So, of course, we know that something is going to happen with Joe. It hasn't happened yet, but it will. And so it's a nice little progression to see what's happening with all these characters. I still really enjoy the series, and I enjoy that Maud Hart Lovelace makes these books realistic and relatable and doesn't just sugarcoat everything. Overall, I think that she's doing an excellent job with them, or did do an excellent job with them. I hope everyone is having a great Memorial Day weekend. If you celebrate, I hope it is nice out where you are. And as you can maybe see, I got a little bit of sun last week, and a little too much sun, so I got a little burned. Make sure you wear your sunscreen, kids. Don't be like me. Don't be silly and go out on the boat without sunscreen. Maybe I needed to wear one of Betsy's swim costumes that was like high-necked and with all the long sleeves and everything. That way I wouldn't have had to worry about sunscreen. So, but I hope everyone is enjoying their weekend, and I hope you are enjoying whatever you are reading. And if you're joining along with us, I'd love to see your video if you've made one. I hope everybody has a great day. I hope Samantha enjoyed my review. She's still staring at me, judging me. Always judging. Yeah. Okay, I'll leave it there. Bye, friends.